I've got a late news update this Wednesday, the 15th of November. Got super raids coming in, and we have a whole new summoning event, progressive chance events. I think is actually really good. Welcome, I'm the Deadwoodjedi. This is going to be a Raid Shadow Legends video, obviously, but we are going to be talking a little bit about the news stuff today. Now, apologies, it's late in the afternoon, actually, even for me out here on the West Coast, but my camera wasn't working this morning, so what can you do, right? You gotta go through with what we got. Anyway, what do we have going on? There's some new stuff in-game, and I wanted to share that with you guys. Notably, one of the first things is obviously this Gear Fusion should be starting tomorrow on Thursday, and coinciding with that, there's going to be some super raids. So we've got on Thursday the 16th, we've got Spider's Den. On Sunday the 19th, Dragon Lair. On Wednesday the 22nd, we've got Ice Golem. And on Saturday the 25th, we've got Fire Knight. So those are kind of some events that are going to be happening, this week coming up, coinciding with that Gear Fusion. Now, the big thing I want to talk to you about is a new progressive chance event. Now, before we get into that, I want to point out two things to keep in mind. First, this Gear Fusion's happening. If you're going to pull shards, just keep that in mind. Second, there's going to be a Christmas Fusion coming up. Now, I don't have any information. There's no insider stuff on this, but every year we have a Christmas Fusion. Every year it's, to be honest, it's usually a little meh, but you never know what it's going to be, and they usually try to make a big event out of it. The champions don't always pan out, like Pixneal. Sometimes they're good, like Sir Nicholas. But the point is, there's going to be that big fusion coming up. You might want to save what shards you have for that. Just kind of keep that in mind. It's usually like the long style event. So, that's one of the things that you might want to save some stuff for. Just kind of keep that in mind. But let's get back to this progressive chance event. And now, first off, what is this? Well, we've been asking forever to make the 10x events that we have bigger events, right? It's way too small as it is right now. 10x chance just isn't nearly enough. So what is it that they want to do? Well, they want to take the champions that we have. They're going to make that 10x. It's going to start off at a 15x, right? So it's already +5 better than a 10x event. So if you like 10x events, this is automatically a better option. But the cool thing is, if you pull, let's say you're going for legendary. If you pull legendary and you don't get it on the first pull, after that, it becomes a 20x chance, right? If you don't get it on the second pull, it becomes a 25x chance. So it's not by the shards you pull, mind you. It's by the champions you do pull. So if you're trying to get a legendary, they'll go from 15x to 20x to 25x. And that incremental improvement happens every time you pull another legendary, right? Not every time you pull another shard, every time you pull another legendary. That's obvious, but I just want to be clear about that. So this can get actually really good as far as the odds of getting the champion you want. The cool thing about this, the other really cool thing I think, is that as with all 10x events, they usually give you like a pool of champions, a variety of champions that are going to be qualified for this. In this event, they're going to give you a pool of champions, and you can actually select the ones you want to choose, which I think is actually a great thing, because a lot of times in these 10x's, I have no desire to pull any of these champions, right? I'm usually like, I don't want that one. I only want this one out of these 5, right? So what's great about this is you're going to be able to do that. Now, there are some limitations. Like, they're going to give you some slots you have to choose, and I think you're going to have to fill in all the slots. So still probably not going to be as ideal as we want. You're not going to be able to leave slots open, but it's still a really great option, right? It's still going to give you a lot better chance of pulling the champion that you do want. Now, depending on how many slots you're forced to fill, how many new 25x options or 15x options there are, the odds of pulling the champion you want obviously will plummet. But there's another, subtle bonus in here that I don't want to overlook. You're also going to be able to select epic champions for this, which means epic champions will also get this improved chance to pull. That is actually the most massive thing here. This is something that's going to be amazing for free-to-play players, amazing for low spenders, because you're needing epics. You need good epics, right? You don't have a Geomancer. You don't have, like me, a Farrak and the Fat. All of a sudden, this is going to be an awesome opportunity to be able to fill in those gaps in your roster, right? And so I think that's actually the biggest improvement out of all of this, right? I think that's going to be really big for everybody. Obviously, getting the legendary you want, my Duchess would be massive for people, but really getting that epic, that Maneater, that Demitha, that could be the real game changer out of all of this. So those are the things that I'm really, really excited about. Now, a couple details about it. Rarity of the champion is going to matter, right? So epics, legendaries, like I said, those things are going to have an impact. I mean, who knows? Eventually, maybe they'll even toss in some rare champions into this. It's really hard to tell. The other thing that's going to matter is the shard type. You're pulling champions out of ancients, that's not going to trigger the progressive chance for sacred shards. They're going to be separate, right? So you're going to have your void shards, your sacred shards, your epic, your ancient shards. Those are all going to be separate things, right? So you got to kind of keep those parts in mind. The other thing too, I think to keep in mind, like, if we kind of focus on what this is versus what it isn't, right? What it is basically it's a 15x. It's a plus 5x. That's the baseline of what this is. Unless you're pulling enough shards to pull legendary after legendary after legendary, or you just have insane luck, it's probably just a plus 5x, right? Probably really just a 15x for you. Except when it comes to epics, because you don't have to pull a ton of shards to be able to get multiple epics and increase that progressive chance to pull the one you want, right? I think that's pretty easy to do. So there's definitely, some limitations to it, but I think one of the things we want to kind of look at is like, this is an improvement. Maybe not what we were asking for. We were asking for like a 20x or 25x flat without having this progressive chance, but I actually really like this system a lot. I'm hopeful that eventually it'll just replace 10x systems altogether. And then what else do we have? I think it's going to be amazing for epic champions, right? I said that already. The champion choice, I think, is really, really nice and an underrated aspect of this. The things that it's not really a 25x chance, right? You got to understand about that progressive part of it. It is something that's designed to obviously keep you playing because you're like, oh, the odds only get better as I pull more. But I think in this sense, it actually helps us, right? And like I said, it's also not what we asked for. We were hoping for just a flat 20 or flat 25, and this is, a little bit different. So what does this mean? Well, I mean, one of the things I try to break down a little bit, like, what is the chance and how does this change it, right? And obviously, there's a ton of champions in this game, and I was trying to get a list without having to count them all individually. A little bit hard for me to do, to be honest. So I was just kind of like, I got a vague outline of how many champions there are in this game available in the shards. There's about 60 void shards, void champions available. There's about 180 non-void champions. I know it's actually technically less than both of those, but we're constantly getting more champions. So I figure we can round up to make this, kind of give us an idea of what this is. So I broke down what are the chances of getting a champion out of these various things, right? So if you get if you want to try to pull a specific non-void champion, for example, just out of a shard, right? You pull an ancient shard or a sacred and you get a legendary. What's the chance that it's going to be the one you want? It's about a 0.5% chance. Because there's so many champions, it's about 0.5%. This is why people really love the 10x events and why this one's going to be really good for us. Even on a 10x though, because there are so many champions, it's still only about a 5% chance you're going to get the one you want. Now, again, I'm rounding these up, so the percentage is probably going to be a little bit higher right now. In a year, this is probably going to be spot on. So it's about a 5% chance to pull the one you want. That's on a 10x. Great thing of the 15x, that 5% turns into an 8% chance. If you miss on the first one and you keep pulling, you get another sacred or another legendary, that 8% chance turns to about a 10% chance. And then if you do that again, it'll turn into about a 12% chance once you get to the 25x. So you can see it's definitely improving the odds of you getting it. But even with that, you have to kind of remember when you're pulling non-void champions, chance of getting the one you want is always very low. It's why we never recommend pulling on 10x's. It's honestly why I wouldn't recommend pulling even for this unless you're trying to get a specific epic champion. Now, with voids, it's a different story because the odds of getting the champion you want are so much greater. So even just pulling a random legendary void, chances of getting the one you want, about 1.5%. Again, these numbers are a little bit inflated or a little bit deflated, but still, you get the idea. About 1.5% chance. On a 10x, that jumps all the way to 13%. That's already better than on a 25x with a non-void champion, right? When you hit 15 times for this special event, it's going to be a 19% chance, which is pretty darn good, almost 1 in 5. If you miss on the first one, you pull another one, that becomes 23%. And if you miss again, pull on another one, it becomes 28%. What does this mean? If you're the person that pulls on 10x events, you're going to want to definitely pull on these events and probably stop pulling on 10x events because the odds are just better. They're just better odds. Even if you only pull one legendary, the chance of it being the one you want is still way better. Are they great odds? Not necessarily, not specifically all that much better than they were before, but they're definitely better they're definitely better than they would be on a 10x event. And that's really the big takeaway. The other thing to take away is it might actually behoove you more if there are epic champions you want specifically to pull on these events as opposed to pulling on 2x events or other types of events. I think this actually changes the logic of what we want to do specifically when it comes to sacred shards. Because sacred shards, yes, 2x events, you're more likely to get the legendaries. But if you're already, if you're limited in the epics and you have a bunch of epics that you want and one's being offered in this event, because you're going to get an epic at the bottom line of things with your sacreds, I think it makes a ton of sense to pull for that. Now, again, every shard has its own, rates, right? So like, I don't know when this comes down, if you can assign champions to specific shards only, or if you just assign champions that are going to be part of, the increased rate chance. That's something I'll have to see when this comes out on Friday, when we actually get our first look at this event. So on Friday, we're going to get the first look at this event. We'll actually get to see exactly how that goes, because this is going to make a difference. Are there going to be multiple champions that are going to have to fill in this, this 15x chance here, the progressive chance event? Because that's only going to dilute the pool further and make those percentage chances even lower. Can I choose an epic and have that pull for a sacred? I think that's really nice. Let's just say I would very much be planning on getting a Farrakh in the Fat finally, if that's a possibility. But I don't know yet. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how this breaks down to really get an understanding of that. But I think overall it's definitely an improvement for us. No downside to this. It's really only upside. It's one of the few things I can say with that. So, you're going to see, I'm sure you're going to see some thumbnails saying this is a trap, beware, watch out. It's not. It's, if you understand how a 10x works, this is just a better 10x, right? So it's only upside with this, and I think it's going to be great for us. Now, like I said, this Friday, we have one of these events for the first time. There's going to be a variety of champions being offered. So let's go through them. Stultus Dragonbane, excellent champion. Snick Track, obviously really good. Necmo Thar, unbelievable champion. Cantra the Cyclone, Countess Lix, Theodore the Savant, one of the ones I want. Humezia, Ursuga Workcaller, Lady Annabelle, Stag Knight, White Dryad Nia, and Tuhok the Wanderer. So if you're looking for epic champions, White Dryad Nia is going to be available. It's amazing. Lady Annabelle, Stag Knight, those are really good ones. Tuhok, I've never been really high on. But I think those three definitely worth considering to pull for. You're looking for Void champions, Tumezia or Suga, as far as legendaries go. They're both really good. I don't know that they're top tier. I wouldn't say that they're not like S class, but they're definitely A class champions, right? You see them a lot in arena, you see them a lot in dungeon runs and stuff like that. So they're both really, really good and champions I would want on my account. I don't know that I would necessarily pull to get them specifically though. So keep that in mind. As far as the non-void champions, man, Stultus is definitely a good one, but Necmo Thar is, god tier. Theodore's god tier. Honestly, Cantra for Hydra, it's pretty close to S tier champion. She's really, really good. These are all decreased speed champions, in case you're wondering. I believe that's the breakdown on this, but I think getting Theodore or getting Necmo are definitely worth it if you can. Those would be the two champions that I don't have on my account that I would definitely be targeting if I decide to pull for this event. Which chances are I won't, but maybe I will, just to celebrate it and kind of give it a sense of what it is so you guys can see. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's kind of the breakdown of this. Hopefully these are, I think everybody can agree this is going to be better, right? I think if you're saying it's not, I think you're missing the forest for the trees here. It's definitely better. Not what we asked for, but it's 100% a step in the right direction. Now, I wish these numbers started at 20x. I feel like that would be a better spot. Start at 20x, go to 25, and then go to 30. I think that would definitely encourage people to pull more charge for these kinds of events when the rates are lower. But overall, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. Anyway, this is that's our Wednesday update, guys. So a little late to the day, but I appreciate those of you that watched and stuck around. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you guys plan on pulling on Friday? Is this an event that you'd be interested in? Let me know. That's all we got for today. Till next we meet on the Deadwood Jedi.